Got a Katy Perry song stuck in my stupid head. Alright, so there has been a huge slew of DC news over the past couple of weeks after the release of Black Adam, Hierarchy and the Power of DC Universes Change Forever, etc., etc. But one of the biggest pieces of news is that James Gunn, director of Guardians of the Galaxy, and Peter Safran have joined Warner Brothers as part of DC Studios, I think that's what it's called, to oversee their DC movies. But the biggest news that everyone is annoyed about is that Henry Cavill, after leaving The Witcher to come back as Superman, is now not coming back as Superman, which is that's just wild. Just crazy news. In a string of tweets, James Gunn made a few announcements, but probably the biggest piece of news from that is that he himself is writing a new Superman movie about a younger Superman, and presumably this is an entirely new universe because this new Superman will not be played by Henry Cavill. There's a lot of backlash to this because the DC universe that was in place, that Henry Cavill was a part of, Zack Snyder's Justice League universe, it seems like that's pretty much going to be gone after the next few movies. And a lot of people are mad because presumably they've committed a decent amount of time to this universe. But hear me out here. I think this is a good thing. Oh, the Snyder fans are going to kill me. I think this is a good thing because the whole DCEU it's so messy. I think there probably would have been a bit of salvaging in it, but there's so much additional baggage to take on with that universe that I think it's just better to start over. People are mad that Henry Cavill isn't returning as Superman, which is fair because I think given the right material, Henry Cavill could nail it as Superman, but they have not gotten this version of Superman right. Look, say what you will about these movies. I won't dispute if someone enjoys them or dislikes them or whatever, but this version of Superman has the worst version of Lex Luthor. Jesse Eisenberg's like, well, Clark, just not a fan. And they just absolutely blew their load on Death of Superman in the second movie. Who does that? No one had built up enough of a connection to this character. And like I said, I think he could nail it with the right material, but I can totally understand why they would start over on Superman and all these other characters. This version of Batman's just a murderer who hasn't killed the Joker. Oh, and worst version of the Joker, by the way. Aquaman's pretty good. I like Jason Momoa. I don't think the Aquaman movie is great. It's more so the movie's writing itself, though, not the character that I have an issue with. I wouldn't mind seeing more of Jason Momoa as Aquaman, but I guess we're starting over. But also, it's got Amber Heard in it as Mera, which, again, not good, problematic. How many problematic actors did they hire? They won't even touch Green Lantern. Oh, here's a good one. The Flash has Ezra Miller. Yikes. They need to start over to give a good, effective build-up to each of these characters and to each of their crossovers. They're blowing their load entirely on The Death of Superman, The Dark Knight Returns, and Flashpoint. And there's rumors that apparently they wanted to do a Crisis on Infinite Earths. All those stories are definitive for those characters, but they are definitive points for a lot of those characters with years of backstory to all of those characters. You can't just jump right into them. A lot of people love the MCU, and there's a lot of care and attention, and a lot of interesting stuff has been done with it. But this is, you can look at this as the start of the DC equivalent of the MCU. I mean, it's a whole new universe to be introduced to, which, it's annoying that the previous universe has to go, but it wasn't a very consistent universe anyway. One advantage as well that restarting this universe has is that they also have their side stuff, like the Batman, Joker. I really like the idea of having alternate versions of these characters on screen at the same time. I think they just need to brand them differently. Just brand them as Elseworld stories. and just go nuts with it. Just have their center focused universe that they want to work on for consistency and crossover, and then just go nuts with everything else. But as well as that, they can build up to smaller crossovers. They can have a world's finest movie. They could have a Flash and Green Lantern crossover. It's quite sad that there are actors and creatives that are affected by this, like Patty Jenkins, like Henry Cavill. But I don't think it's James Gunn's fault. It's not Henry Cavill's fault. It's not even Zack Snyder's fault. This universe that they had is the result of literally a decade of just mismanaging this DC universe. It was all or nothing. It was either like no one was steering the ship and they were just like, just get us to Justice League, go, we want $1 billion. Or there were far too many people involved that they just pushed out like just the most boardroom approved thing ever. Especially with Suicide Squad, Justice League 2017. There's a lot of controversy around how Ray Fisher was treated on the set of Justice League. Batgirl got canned, just like a $90 million movie, just down the drain because it was such a mess. I think they like genuinely wanted two things. They wanted the success of the MCU without like all the input or build up, and I don't think they wanted like another disaster like Green Lantern was in 2011. But they kind of ended up getting both because they made movies that are not great in some cases and they didn't get the success that they wanted. For something as big as a shared universe, a lot of work has to go into it, and you have to have people at the top of it going, we have to have these things, we want to have a consistent story, and they didn't have that for years. And now James Gunn and Peter Safran are looking to put in that work. And I think that's exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing what they can put out. Because, frankly, the universe that they had so far was just not very good and not consistent.